Hello and welcome back. I decided to make another one of these videos, so hopefully they get better with time if you didn't enjoy the last one. It took a while to make and figure out all this stuff. Welcome back. I'm again happy to hear from you, happy to see you. Figured I'd make another video about what we're talking about today, which is DNA structure, the basics. So we are going to talk about DNA. What is it? What is this little molecule that is so vitally important for every single living organism on Earth? So let's just jump right in. All right, guys. So let's talk about what we are, where we are, okay? So we kind of started out big picture here. We were talking about your cells, right? So your cell right here, we know that DNA is going to be found in the nucleus. So the nucleus is going to be, let's just do marker there. The nucleus, again, right there. Wow, that was super dark. Still figuring out the tools on here, guys. Anyways, there is the nucleus right there. Inside, you find these structures called chromosomes. Bam. And we see them as kind of X's when we're talking about meiosis or mitosis. That's because this is a duplicated chromosome. If we were, so it's made up of two sister chromatids. So each half is basically a copy of the other half. So this side right here is an exact copy of this side right here. Now, if we were to go smaller, what we're talking about now is we're going even smaller than these chromosome structures. When you get smaller and smaller and smaller, you get your DNA. So DNA is in a shape kind of like this. If you were to unwind it all the way and spread it all the way out. All right, so if we were to take that molecule that we were talking about over here, okay, now we are talking about, DNA. DNA is in a very, very specific shape that is called the double helix. So let me spell that for you guys right here. That's how we describe this shape right here. I've heard students in the past, they like to call it a twisty ladder because it looks like you took a ladder and just kind of twisted it around. And it does look a little bit like that, but that is how DNA is actually arranged. Now, the reasons why it's arranged that way actually end up being really cool once you get into kind of some more advanced genetic stuff. Being in that shape allows you to kind of keep the integrity, or you just keep the code kind of correct. And that includes times when we need to copy the code. So you have all of these things right here. And I like this image because over here, it actually kind of shows you, remember back when we talked about atoms and molecules and all that stuff, what kinds of elements we would find in our DNA molecule. Notice we have phosphorus here, we got hydrogen, we got oxygen. The bases are going to be made up of a couple of different things based on what the type of base is. So let me actually show you an even smaller version of what is going on here. And I know this is a lot, so don't worry. I'm not going to ask you super detailed questions about this. But I would like to show you. Actually, great. Now we're looking at that twisty ladder again, except now I kind of untwisted it and I'm looking at each one of these molecules. The special name for this, and it actually gets into why we call it DNA. We call this a nucleotide. Each one of these little nucleotide, there we go. So each one of these things right here, which it's highlighted right here. So nucleotides are the building blocks for DNA. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. That is what it stands for right there. So it's actually kind of a clue into what kind of molecules make them up. Because every DNA molecule, every nucleotide has to have three basic things, okay? So if you're gonna get down to the basics of what is it that makes DNA special, you have three things, okay? So stay with me here. You have sugar, a phosphate group, and a base, okay? All three of those things together make up what we would call a nucleotide, okay? nucleotide. Ooh, let's see how bad my handwriting. Oh, it's not too bad. There we go. Nucleotide. Bunches and bunches of nucleotides together make up your DNA molecule. Okay? And remember that DNA molecule is in the shape of a double helix. So you can draw it kind of like this. Now, the reason why I'm going into so much detail is because this last piece of the puzzle, the base, that's what makes each DNA molecule code for different things. The bases are what I'm kind of highlighting here in red. They're holding the two sides of your twisty ladder, the two sides of your double helix together. They're holding them together, and inside there, that's actually what's going to code for specific information. So there are some rules here. Basically, all DNA is made up of 4 different kinds of bases. And you can kind of think of these as letters. And based on how you arrange letters, you get different words, right? So let's say that I have, well, actually, let me just tell you the bases first. Adenine, which I'm going to abbreviate as A. Thymine, T. Cytosine, which is C, and guanine, okay, which is G. So those are the 4 bases, the 4 letters that are just repeated over and over and over again in your genetic code. All DNA basically is these 4 letters just matched over and over and over again. And they're matched in a very, very specific way. Because you have 2 sides of our DNA molecule, I'm going to actually make each one of these different colors so you guys can see. Ooh, I need the highlighter tool. So many tools. Okay, adenine. You're going to have thymine. You're going to have cytosine, and you're going to have guanine, okay? So we got all these different colors here. Now, I'm going to draw my double helix over here, DNA. This is my backbone. It's made up of the phosphate, of the sugar, and all of that kind of stuff. And then you got 2 strands, so it's double-stranded like that. Bam, there we go. Now, on each side of the strand, you're gonna have different bases. So I'm gonna kind of put a couple of different bases here on one side, and then I'll go back and fill in the other side. So I got my adenine here, whoops, adenine. I'm gonna add in a little bit of thymine. Let's add that in. Again, I'm just gonna do one side right now. And some of you guys already know maybe where I'm going with this if you know a little bit about DNA. But I'm gonna go slow just for the sake of keeping everybody with us. So bam, bam, bam. And one more, I'm gonna add guanine in here. Here, I'm gonna add it in here. Okay, now we have 1/2 of the strand is complete. Now we still have that other strand that has to make it up. And the bases that we need to put in there are gonna follow really, really specific rules. So I'm gonna have adenine bonding with thymine. A and T match together. Cytosine and guanine match together. So C and G match together. So that means I'm only really matching these guys together. So I'm going to do, every time I see blue on the other side, I should see red, and vice versa. So I'm gonna add in my adenine here, gonna add adenine here, adenine, and adenine, bam. Now we're gonna add in the thymine to complete the other side here. And I'm gonna keep going on and just kind of completing the sides. So I'm adding in thymine, whoop. Sorry, I had to take a break. Let me try again. Oop. All right, and I'm gonna continue kind of going on, completing all of these here. So that should be about halfway there. So I'm just adding in thymine everywhere that I see adenine. Okay, now the same thing goes for cytosine and guanine. So I'm gonna, everywhere I see green, I'm gonna put yellow. So if it's cytosine, if I see guanine, I'm gonna put cytosine. And if I see cytosine, I'm gonna put guanine. So here I go in with cytosine, bam, bam. And now I'm gonna go finish up my molecule here with all of my guanines, all my Gs. Bam, bam. So that is why the DNA molecule is able to code the information that it does. So to kind of go through this really quickly though, the reason why we sometimes call DNA, we call genetics, we call it the language of life. And the reason why is because based on those arrangement of different letters, you can have different words, basically, which then have different meanings. I'm kind of simplifying it just a little bit. But at the end of the day, let's say I have something like this. I have a simple sentence and I say, the cat ran, right? Simple sentence. Now, if I rearrange or if I just change these letters out, I can have a different meaning. So let's say I have the rat ran, right? Changing one letter drastically changes, or maybe not drastically, but it changes at least a little bit what that sentence means. The same thing with your DNA. Every time you have different letters, you actually get differences in what you get as your outcome. Now, some of them are significant. Some of those are big deal. Others are not. Let me give you an example here, just to make sure that you're following along with our matching. So if I have a strand of DNA and I have CGT, let's say that that is one side of our strand. If I were to give you that, you would have to figure out what is the matching strand going to look like. And based on those rules that I just gave you, you would know that it's going to be something like this, right? Because A has to match with T, C has to match with G. So based on that, based on these two sides of your DNA strand, you can figure out what should be there. And it also gives enzymes a chance to be able to correct itself a little bit later. We'll talk a little bit more about that next week, probably. So that is a very brief description of what the DNA molecule is like. Now, the things that I want you to focus on, and if you need to go back and rewatch anything, please don't be afraid to do that. You could pause it, rewind it, do whatever you want. Even email me questions if I wasn't super clear and I can make it better. Again, I'm still kind of new at this whole digital video making thing. So let me know what's working, what is not working. But the things that you should maybe know, okay? Number one, I would know that it's shaped like a double helix, right? Which is kind of like a twisty ladder. Number two, I would know that there are 4 different kinds of bases: adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine, okay? And I would also make sure, I guess number 3, which ones match with which. All right, I'm gonna leave it there for now. We'll continue on talking about DNA and a little bit more complicated things that DNA can do and why those letters matter so much. For example, for something in sickle cell, just one little change, one tiny little mutation in this big long code actually causes the cells to be misshapen. So we'll talk a little bit more about that next week. Again, let me know what is going on, if you're confused, if you need help. I am here to help you. Just send me an email and I'm more than happy to help. And also let me know if I'm going too quickly, if I'm going too slowly. Just feedback. I'll put a place for it on the Google form on Friday so that you guys can leave some feedback if I'm going too fast, too slow, if it's overwhelming. Just let me know. And I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you guys are staying safe. And again, I look forward to hearing from you.